Okay, we're looking at solving quadratics, and in this video we want to look at completing the square as a method used to solve a quadratic. With calculators now we don't use this as often, but you do need to know the method. So I have a quadratic ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. These are the steps I've written out. First of all, we put the c on the other side, we transpose it to the other side, and of course change the sign. So if it's plus c, it would be minus c. And in its place, we add a b divided by 2 squared. And we have to do that on both sides to keep it balanced. Then we write the left-hand side as a perfect square, which I'll show you, and we take the square root of both sides. So we'll work through a problem. I can probably squeeze it on the bottom here of the screen so you can see what we're doing. Let's take x squared minus 8x minus 17 equals 0. Now the first thing I want to do is put the 17 on the other side. So if I can conserve space, let me rub this out. It becomes a plus 17 on the other side. Becomes a 17 on that side, and I can rub out this one. Okay, so after that we add, in its place, I've got a space here now, add my b divided by 2 squared. So my b, let's write out what these are. My a equals 1, my b equals a negative 8, and my c was a negative 17. So in its place, I'm going to divide my negative 8 in half. So I've only got negative 4, and I'm going to square it as 16. So I'm going to add 16 to both sides, okay, to keep it balanced. So I have x squared equals, that all equals 33. Now, can you see my quadratic here? This is something I can factorise. Before, when I had x squared minus 8x minus 17, I couldn't factorise it easily. 2 factors of 17, I've only got 1 in 17, it doesn't make 8. So now I can factorise this, and I have x, 2 factors of 16 that add to negative 8 would be x minus 4 in 2 brackets. X minus 4 times x minus 4 is x squared minus 8x plus 16. Then, so I've written this as a perfect square. Actually, is it easier to see if I write it as, this was 2 factors of 16 were negative 4 and negative 4, made 16. Those add together to make negative 8. So I can rewrite x minus 4 as x minus 4 squared, this is what we call a perfect square, equals 33. Now I want to get rid of my squared, x minus 4 squared. To undo a square, I take the square root, don't I? So if I square root this side, I can I have to also square root that side. And now my square and square root cancel, so I'm just left with x minus 4 equals the square root of 33. And that we also know could be a positive or a negative number. And the last step, I'm going to put the minus 4 on the other side, and of course it becomes a plus 4 on the other side. So my answer will be x equals a positive or a negative square root of 33, you do it on the calculator, plus 4. Okay, that's that one. Let's do another one and see how these work out. Let's try x squared minus 2x minus 7 equals 0. So I first try factorising because that's easiest. Factors of 7 are 1 and 7, but that won't give me the negative 2. So I need to try completing the square to factorise this and solve it. So remember, the first step is to take my negative 7 and get rid of it onto the other side. So I end up with x squared minus 2x equals, negative 7 becomes positive 7. Now, to fill its space here, I'm going to have my b divided by 2 and square it. So b is negative 2, x squared minus 2x. I'm going to have negative 2 divided by 2 would leave me with negative 1, squared is positive 1, equals 7. Now I should be able to factorise this side, equals 7. Have a 1 and a 1 and an x minus 1, x minus 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. And if I add those together, I get negative 2. So this is the same as x minus 1 squared equals 7. To undo my square, I take a square root here to undo that square, and I'll take a square root of that side. So squares and square roots are going to cancel each other and just leave me with x minus 1 equals 7. Now remember, the square root of 7 can be a positive or a negative. Okay, 2 negatives multiplied together give me 7, or 2 positives multiplied together are going to give me 7. And now I want to get rid of my negative 1 onto the other side. It becomes the opposite. Sine x equals plus or minus the square root of 7 plus 1. And you can leave your answer like that, or you could look up on your calculator what the square root of 7 is. Let's see. X, meaning 1. Square root of 7 equals, so I could have 1 plus 2, oops, sorry, it's the wrong thing here. 1 plus 2.64, or 1 x equals 1 minus 2.64 would be my answer. Okay, we could have, if I looked up the square root of 7 was 2.64, it can be adding or subtracting. Okay, the more you do, the more you'll be able to remember how to do this. X squared, it is rather cool when it works out, minus 12 equals 0. Okay, so first step is to put this on the other side, and I have x squared minus 4x equals 12, but remember I have a gap here, equals 12. How do I fill the gap? My b divided by 2 squared goes in the gap. So I can have x squared minus 4x. My b is negative 4. Divided by 2 is negative 2. Squared is going to be 4. But I've got to do it to both sides. Add 4 to both sides. Oh, I hope I did that last time. Yeah, oops. Then I'm going to factorise. So I have x minus 2 and x minus 2. Factorise that side equals 16. So I have x minus 2 squared equals 16. Now I want to get rid of my squared. So square root this side and square root that side. And that gives me, I'm just left with x minus 2 equals square root of 16, could be positive 4 or negative 4. So my answer, again, I'm going to take my negative 2 to the other side, get rid of it. I want my x by itself. X equals 4 plus 2, or x equals negative 4 plus 2. X equals 6, or x equals negative 2. Now these came out as whole numbers. So, see all this working that we've done. If we'd look carefully at what we were factorising up here, we were finding a solution for up here. Can you see that we could have easily just looked at negative 12, two numbers that multiplied together to make negative 12, 6 and 2. And so if I had an x minus 6 and an x plus 2 up here, when I factorise that, that would have given me x equals 6 or x equals negative 2 without all that working. So we only use this method if we can't just look at the equation and factorise it with our two brackets, and then we start our method. Okay, also remember this x, when we're factorising using this method, must be only a 1x squared in the front. If it's not a 1 in the front, we need to, I can show you one more long video, 5x squared minus 8x plus 1 equals 0. Factors of 1 here, I can't easily factorise that out. So I'm going to use completing the square, but I have a 5 in the front of the x, so I need to divide everything by 5 in order to get rid of that 5. So I'm going to divide that by 5, divide this by 5, divide this by 5. 0 divided by 5 is still 5, and that will cancel out my 5. So my equation that I'll start to work with is, minus x squared minus 8/5 x plus 1/5 equals 0. And I'll use the same method going through again. Okay, thanks.